I told him I'd only been with 3 guys before him, and last night at his high school reunion, I counted 17 of my actual exes in the same room. My husband, Marcus, thinks I'm practically a virgin. Sweet, right? 3 guys before him. That's the magic number I gave him on our 4th date when he asked. We were at that Italian place in Riverside, the one with the checkered tablecloths, and he got this serious look and said he needed to know my history. I don't judge, he said, twirling his spaghetti like this was totally casual. I just think it's important to be honest about our pasts. 3 sounded respectable. Not too prudish, not too wild. I even had names ready. Josh from high school, Daniel from freshman year, and Antonio from my semester in Spain. Clean, simple, believable. The truth? By the time I met Marcus at 26, I'd stopped counting somewhere around 40. Maybe 50, maybe more. College was a blur of dorm rooms and frat houses, and that one semester I decided to try every guy on the baseball team. Study abroad added another dozen. That summer working at the beach bar? Let's just say I earned more than tips. But Marcus had this look when I said 3. Relief mixed with satisfaction, like he'd won some prize. He told me about his 5 previous girlfriends. Actual girlfriends, not hookups, and I nodded like our experiences were remotely comparable. I'm glad we're on the same page, he said, reaching for my hand. Values matter, you know? Values, right. My values just happened to include lying my ass off to the man I was already falling for. Look, I'm not proud of it. But you have to understand, Marcus wasn't like the guys I usually dated. He had a real job at an engineering firm. He called when he said he would. He wore button-downs that actually fit and owned more than one towel. He talked about the future like I'd be in it. And he was traditional. Not in a gross way, but in a sweet, old-fashioned way. He opened doors and met my parents, and didn't try to get me naked until date 6. When I told my roommate Celia about him, she said, "Holy shit, Sierra, you found a unicorn." So yeah, I lied because sometimes you meet someone worth lying for. We got married 2 years later. Small wedding at his family's church in Fairfield. I wore my grandmother's dress and cried real tears when he said his vows. His mom hugged me and whispered, "I'm so glad Marcus found a good girl." A good girl. Me. The same girl who'd done body shots off a stranger in Cabo, who'd hooked up with 3 different guys during one very ambitious St. Patrick's Day, who'd had a summer fling with her married CrossFit coach. I know. But I buried all that. Deleted old photos, unfriended anyone who knew too much, created a new history that matched the person Marcus thought he'd married. When we'd run into guys I'd slept with, which happened more than you'd think in a city this size, I'd play dumb. He looks familiar. Did we have a class together? It worked for 12 years. 12 years of Sunday dinners and holiday cards and being the perfect wife to the perfect husband. We had 2 kids, Emma and Jackson, and I threw myself into motherhood like it could erase everything that came before. PTA president, soccer mom, the woman who brought homemade cookies to bake sales and actually made them from scratch. "You're such a natural mother," Marcus would say, watching me with the kids. "It's like you were born for this." Maybe I was. Maybe all those wild years were just me getting it out of my system. Maybe everyone has a past they'd rather forget. Or maybe I was just really good at pretending. The cracks started showing up slowly. An old college friend tagging me in a throwback photo where I was clearly wasted at a party Marcus didn't know about. Running into Tyler from the beach bar summer while shopping with Marcus. The panic in my chest when Tyler's eyes lit up with recognition before I quickly steered us away. The time Emma found my old digital camera in the attic and I had to delete photos before she saw things that would require therapy. "You're jumpy lately," Marcus noticed. "Everything okay?" "Just mom stress," I'd say. "You know how it is." But he didn't know. Marcus lived in a world where people said what they meant and past meant past. He didn't understand the weight of carrying around a whole other person inside you, Someone who did tequila shots on Tuesday nights and gave out fake numbers and real blowjobs with equal enthusiasm. Last month, he came home all excited about his 20-year high school reunion. "You'll come, right?" he asked. "I want to show off my beautiful wife." "Of course," I said, because what else could I say? "Sorry, honey, but I've probably slept with half your graduating class. I figured it would be fine. Big venue, lots of people, easy to blend in." I'd smile and nod and pretend I didn't remember making out with the former quarterback in the bathroom of a house party. Standard wife stuff. What I didn't count on was that Riverside High's class of 2004 would be a goddamn convention of my sexual history. The reunion was at the Riverside Country Club, which tried to look fancy but still smelled like chlorine from the pool. Marcus was excited like a kid on Christmas morning, pointing out people from yearbook photos he'd been studying all week. "That's Jeff Martinez. We were lab partners junior year. And that's Kelly Thompson. She was valedictorian. Oh, and there's—" "Babe, I'm gonna hit the bathroom," I interrupted, already spotting two guys I'd hooked up with by the registration table. "Order me a wine?" "White or red?" "Whichever's stronger." The bathroom was my sanctuary for exactly 3 minutes before Brittany Chen walked in. Brittany fucking Chen, who I'd had a threesome with her boyfriend Doug sophomore year of college. She stopped mid-step when she saw me. "Sierra? Oh my God, I heard you married Marcus Walker." "Hey, Brittany." I concentrated on washing my hands like it required a PhD. Small world. "Seriously, I was just telling Doug, he's here too, by the way. Remember that crazy night at his apartment? With the vodka and the, I don't really remember college much," I cut her off. "You know how it is, too many study sessions." She laughed like I'd made the world's funniest joke. "Study sessions, right? That's what we called them." I escaped back to Marcus, who'd found us a table with his old chess club friends. Safe territory. Or so I thought until I realized one of them was Connor Liu, who I'd dated for 2 weeks freshman year. Dated being a generous term for what we did in his dorm room between classes. "This is my wife, Sierra," Marcus said proudly. "Sierra, this is Connor, Ben, and Rajesh." Connor's poker face was admirable. "Nice to meet you, Sierra." "You too," I said, matching his energy. "Marcus has told me so much about chess club." "All lies, I'm sure," Connor said, and only I caught the edge in his voice. The night spiraled from there. Everywhere I turned, there was another ghost from my past. Ryan from that beach weekend. Alex from the Halloween party where I dressed as a sexy vampire. Just lingerie with fake teeth, basically. David, who'd been my regular booty call junior year. Tommy, who I'd hooked up with literally the weekend before I met Marcus. They were all there, all mingling with my husband, all pretending they hadn't seen me naked. "Your wife's lovely," I heard Ryan tell Marcus by the bar. "How'd you two meet?" "Coffee shop on Main Street," Marcus said, launching into our meet-cute story. "She spilled her latte on my laptop. I knew right then she was special." Ryan's eyes found mine across the room. We'd had sex in his car after a concert, windows fogged up, my handprint still visible on the glass when he dropped me off. Now he was nodding along to my husband's story like he hadn't left bruises on my thighs that lasted a week. "Some people just know when it's right," Ryan said, still looking at me. "When they've found the one." I excused myself to the bathroom again. Then the patio. Then the parking lot where I seriously considered just driving home and telling Marcus I'd gotten food poisoning. But that would mean explaining why I'd abandoned him at his reunion, and I was already drowning in lies. Small world, huh? I spun around to find Connor, lighting a cigarette by the dumpsters. "I didn't know you knew Marcus in high school," I said carefully. "I didn't know you were the type to marry a guy like Marcus." He blew smoke into the night air. "No judgment, just surprised." People change. Do they? Because the Sierra I remember, the Sierra you remember, doesn't exist anymore. "Clearly," he stubbed out his cigarette. "Don't worry, your secret's safe." though you might want to avoid the ballroom. Pretty sure half the guys in there have seen you naked." He wasn't wrong. I counted quickly in my head. Ryan, Connor, Alex, David, Tommy, the guy by the punch bowl whose name I couldn't remember but who'd definitely gone down on me in a supply closet. Then there were the near misses, the ones I'd made out with but hadn't sealed the deal. The ones who'd tried but I'd been too drunk or too tired or too interested in their roommates. "It's not like that," I said weakly. "Like what? Like you told Mr. Traditional in there that you were basically a virgin?" Connor laughed. "Come on, Sierra. We all remember that semester you were working your way through Sigma Chi." "That's not—" "You fucked my roommate the same night you fucked me. We compared notes." My face burned. "Why are you being such an asshole?" "I'm not. I'm genuinely impressed. Marcus Walker, the guy who asked for permission to hold hands in high school, married the biggest slut on campus. It's like a bad movie." I slapped him, hard. His head snapped to the side, and for a second, we just stared at each other, breathing hard in the parking lot of a country club, where inside my husband was probably wondering where I'd gone. "Feel better?" he asked, rubbing his cheek. "No." "Look, I don't care about your past, but Marcus would. We both know that. So maybe think about that before you play perfect wife." He walked back inside, leaving me with the truth I'd been avoiding all night. Marcus would care. Marcus would care a lot. I found Marcus by the dessert table, chatting with his old English teacher. He lit up when he saw me, pulling me close with the kind of casual affection that used to make me feel safe. "There you are. Mrs. Peterson was just telling me about her grandson. Remember I mentioned her? The one who inspired me to read Hemingway?" I smiled and nodded and made appropriate sounds while scanning the room. The crowd had thinned out, but there were still too many familiar faces. Too many men who knew what I sounded like when I came, who'd seen me do things Marcus thought only porn stars did. "You okay?" Marcus whispered during a lull in conversation. "You seem tense." "Just tired. Long week with the kids." "We can leave soon. I just want to say hi to a few more people." A few more people turned into an hour. An hour of me dodging eye contact and meaningful looks, and the growing feeling that everyone in the room knew something my husband didn't. Like I was walking around with a neon sign that said, "I lied about my body count," flashing over my head. Then Brittany got drunk. Really drunk. Tequila shots at the bar drunk. The kind of drunk where filters disappear and old stories seem hilarious. She cornered us by the photo booth, mascara smudged, breath like a distillery. "Marcus Walker!" she squealed. "I can't believe you married Sierra. Do you know how crazy that is?" "Why's that crazy?" Marcus asked, amused by her state. "Because she was like the most fun girl at state. Remember that party at Doug's place, Sierra, with the... Brittany's pretty wasted," I interrupted. "Maybe we should find her friends." "I'm fine." She swayed slightly. "Just happy. So happy for you guys. Who would have thought Marcus Walker would end up with Party Sierra?" "Party Sierra?" Marcus's voice shifted slightly. "She's being dramatic," I said. "Everyone partied in college." "Not like you," Brittany giggled. "Remember spring break? That contest at the bar? You won that wet t-shirt thing and then took home those twins?" "Okay, time to go." I grabbed Marcus's arm. "Brittany clearly has me confused with someone else." But Marcus wasn't moving. He was looking at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Confusion mixed with something harder to identify. "Twins?" he asked quietly. "She's drunk, Marcus. Let's just go." "Is that why you kept disappearing tonight? Why you seem to know everyone but pretend you don't?" "I don't know what you're talking about." But Brittany wasn't done. Drunk Brittany was on a roll. "Oh my God, and that Halloween when you dressed as a sexy nurse and ended up in the ER because you actually needed stitches from falling off the bar. Classic Sierra." More people were listening now. Ryan had drifted closer, trying to catch Brittany's attention. Connor watched from across the room with something like pity. Or maybe satisfaction. "Come on," I tugged at Marcus's arm. Please, let's go home. How many? He asked, still in that quiet voice. What? How many guys here have you slept with? Marcus. Because I've been noticing looks all night, conversations that stop when I approach, guys who seem really familiar with my wife despite her claiming she's never met them. This is not the place. 5, 10. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there while 12 years of lies started unraveling like a cheap sweater. More than 10? His voice cracked. Sierra, how many? Does it matter? I snapped, fear making me defensive. It was before I met you. It doesn't change anything. You told me 3. You said you'd only been with 3 men. And you believed that? The words came out before I could stop them. Come on, Marcus, you really thought a 26-year-old woman had only slept with 3 people? It was the wrong thing to say. His face went pale, then red, then something beyond color. We should go, he said finally. Now. The drive home was silent. Not peaceful silent. The kind of silent that feels like drowning. I watched familiar streets pass by and tried to figure out how to fix this. How to explain that the person he married was real, even if her past wasn't. That I'd lied because I loved him, not in spite of it. 43, I said as we pulled into our driveway. What? You wanted a number. It's 43, maybe more. I honestly lost count. He turned off the engine but didn't move. 43? I was young, I was stupid, I liked sex, and I didn't see why that was a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Lying about it for 12 years is a bad thing. Would you have married me if I'd told you the truth? The silence stretched between us like a year. I don't know, he said finally, but you never gave me the chance to find out. Marcus slept in the guest room that night, first time in 12 years. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship through this new lens. Every time I'd lied about not remembering someone, every time I'd pretended to be less experienced than I was, every time I'd played the role of the good wife with the minimal past. The next morning he was gone before I woke up. Left a note saying he'd taken the kids to his mother's and needed time to think. I called in sick to work and spent the day alternating between panic and anger. Panic that my marriage was over. Anger that it might end because of things I'd done before I even knew Marcus existed. My phone rang around noon. Connor. I heard Marcus left the reunion pretty upset, he said without preamble. Is there a reason you're calling? Look, I was an ass last night. I'm sorry. You want to talk? To you? About my marriage? Hard pass. Fair, but Sierra, I've known Marcus since high school. He's particular about things. You mean judgmental? I mean he has this idea of how things should be, always has. In high school, he wouldn't date Kelly Thompson because she'd kissed too many guys. His version of too many was like 4. What's your point? My point is you knew who you married. You knew he'd never be okay with your past. So you lied, and now you're mad at him for being exactly who he's always been. I hung up on him, but his words stuck. Was he right? Had I always known this would happen? Is that why I'd been so careful, so paranoid, so committed to my false history? Marcus came home that evening, after the kids were in bed. He looked like he hadn't slept, stubble rough on his usually clean-shaven face. We need to talk, he said. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd had 1,000 meals and conversations, where Emma had taken her first steps, where Jackson had told us about his first crush, sacred ground now contaminated. I keep thinking about our wedding night, he started. You pretended to be nervous, like it was all still new. I was nervous. It was new. It was our first time together as husband and wife. But you'd done everything we did 100 times before, with dozens of other men. So? Does that make it less special, less meaningful? It makes it less honest. Our whole relationship is built on lies. One lie about something that happened before I met you. One lie? He laughed, but it wasn't funny. What about when you pretended not to know Ryan at my company picnic? Or when you said you'd never been to that resort in Cabo, but then his wife mentioned running into you there during spring break? Or every single time we've run into someone you've slept with and you've acted like a stranger? I couldn't argue with that. The lies had multiplied, covering for each other, breeding like rabbits. I was protecting us, I said weakly. Protecting what we have. What we have? What do we have, Sierra? I don't even know who you are. I'm the same person who's been your wife for 12 years, who gave you 2 beautiful children, who loves you. Are you? Because the woman I married valued intimacy, valued making love as something special between 2 people who loved each other. I do value that. How? How can you value it when you gave it away to anyone who asked? And there it was, the truth under his hurt. Not just that I'd lied, but what I'd lied about. In Marcus's world, sex meant something. In mine, sometimes it had just meant Tuesday. I can't change my past, I said. And I shouldn't have to. What I did before you doesn't diminish what we have. Doesn't it? Every time we make love, are you comparing me to them? Thinking about someone else? No, God, Marcus, no, you're the only one I think about. You're the only one who matters. But I'm not the only one, I'm just number 44. Don't do that. Don't reduce our marriage to a number. You did that when you decided your number was too high for me to handle. We talked in circles until the sun came up. Him hurt and betrayed. Me defensive and desperate. Neither of us willing to give ground, both of us bleeding from wounds we couldn't see how to heal. He stayed, but moved into the guest room permanently. We told the kids he was having back problems, needed a firmer mattress. They bought it because kids believe what they need to. We settled into a routine of polite coexistence, partners in parenting, strangers in our own home. I started therapy, tried to understand why I'd hidden so much of myself from the man I claimed to love. Dr. Peterson, a woman with kind eyes and too many scarves, helped me unpack the shame I'd been carrying. You created a version of yourself you thought Marcus would love, she said. But that meant hiding the real you. The real me slept around. A lot. That's not exactly wife material. Says who? Says everyone. Says Marcus. Says his mother who's so glad her son married a good girl. And what makes a good girl? I thought about it. Someone who doesn't have a body count higher than her age. Interesting. And what makes a good person? That was harder. Someone who's kind, honest, loyal? Were you those things with your partners? Yeah, mostly. I mean, I never cheated on anyone. Never lied about being interested just to get laid. I just liked sex, like men do. But men don't have to hide it. Men get high fives, women get slut-shamed. And so you hid. And so I hid. 3 months into our new arrangement, I ran into Alex at Target. Not metaphorically, literally ran my cart into his while reaching for laundry detergent. Sierra! He grinned like we were old friends, which I guess we were in a naked sort of way. How have you been? Good, I said automatically, even though I was buying wine and ice cream at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. You? Can't complain. Heard you married Marcus Walker. That must have been interesting. Why does everyone keep saying that? He raised an eyebrow. Come on, Marcus save it for marriage, Walker? And you? That's like a Disney prince marrying... He trailed off. A whore? I wasn't going to say that. But you were thinking it. He shrugged. Look, no judgment. We had fun. But I always wondered how you'd end up with someone like him. Figured you'd settle down with someone more... experienced. Someone like you? God, no. I was an asshole. Probably still am. But at least I know it. After he left, I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Not pretty tears. Ugly, mascara-running snot bubble tears. Because he was right. Everyone was right. I'd married someone fundamentally incompatible with who I really was, then spent 12 years pretending to be someone else. That night, I found Marcus in his office, grading papers. He taught high school calculus, found beauty in numbers that always had right answers. "I want to separate," I said. He looked up, surprised. "What?" "This isn't working. Living like roommates, walking on eggshells. It's killing us both. The kids will be better off with parents who aren't miserable." "I'm not miserable." "Really? When's the last time you smiled at me? Really smiled, not that polite thing you do at breakfast?" He set down his pen. "I'm trying, Sierra. I just need time." "Time for what? To forgive me for having a past? To get over the fact that other men have touched me?" "Time to trust you again." "I never cheated, never even thought about it." "You lied. For 12 years, you looked me in the eye and lied. Because I knew you'd react like this." "So it's my fault?" "No, it's mine. For thinking I could be someone else. For believing that love meant changing who I was." We sat in silence, 12 years compressed into the space between us. "I loved who I thought you were," he said finally. "And I loved who I tried to be for you. But neither of those people were real." "So what do we do?" "We admit this was a mistake, that we both married ideas instead of people." "That's very neat, very clean." "Nothing about divorce is clean." He was right. Divorce was messy and painful and expensive. We fought about custody and money and who got the good TV. We confused the kids and disappointed our families and became another statistic. But slowly, we also became ourselves again. Marcus started dating a teacher from his school. Someone with a respectable past and a Pinterest board for church potlucks. I could see the relief in his face when he told me about her, like he'd been holding his breath for years and could finally exhale. I started dating too, honestly this time. "I've slept with a lot of people," I told James on our second date. "Like a lot. "Okay," he said, unfazed. "I've been arrested twice and my ex-wife thinks I'm gay." "Are you?" "No, but I did theater in college, so..." He shrugged. "We all have history." We all have history, such a simple truth that I'd spent so long running from. Emma asked me once during my custody weekend why Dad and I had really split up. She was too smart for the grew-apart story we'd been selling. "Dad and I wanted different things," I said carefully. "Like what?" "Like, he wanted someone who'd only ever loved him, and I'd loved other people before I met him." "That's stupid. Everyone loves other people first." "Not everyone, and not the way I did." "What way? How do you explain sexual history to a 10-year-old? "I had a lot of boyfriends before Dad, and he wished I hadn't." "That's really stupid." "Maybe. Or maybe he just knew what he needed and I couldn't give it to him." "Did you lie?" "Kids, they always find the heart of it." "Yeah, baby, I lied." "That was stupid too." "Yeah, it was." She went back to her game, satisfied with my admission of stupidity. I wished it was that simple for the rest of us. The final paperwork came through on a Tuesday. I signed my married name away and became Sierra Coleman again. The same person I'd been at 26, plus some wrinkles and stretch marks and hard-won wisdom. That weekend was Marcus's with the kids. I went out with my girlfriends, women who'd known me in my party days and loved me anyway. We went to a club, danced to music that was too loud, drank drinks that were too sweet. "You gonna take someone home?" my friend Lisa asked, nudging me toward a guy who'd been eye-fucking me all night. "Maybe," I said. Then, "No, I'm good." "Since when do you turn down hot strangers?" "Since I learned the difference between wanting someone and wanting to be wanted." "That's very evolved of you." "I'm trying." And I was, trying to be honest, trying to be whole, trying to be the person I'd hidden for so long that I'd almost forgotten she existed. My phone buzzed. Marcus sending a picture of the kids at the park. They were laughing, Jackson pushing Emma on the swings. "They miss you," he texted. "I miss them too," I replied. Then, because honesty was my new thing, "I'm sorry for all of it." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "I know, me too." It wasn't forgiveness, wasn't closure, wasn't anything but 2 people acknowledging the mess they'd made. But it was honest, and after 12 years of lies, honest felt like everything. I looked around the club at all the 20-somethings making mistakes they'd regret or remember, or both. Once upon a time, I'd been one of them. Then I'd tried to erase that girl, bury her under suburbia and silence. But you can't bury yourself. Can't lie your way into being someone else. Can't build a marriage on a foundation of fiction and expect it to hold weight. The guy at the bar was still watching. Tall, dark, the kind of handsome that would have had 20-year-old me halfway to his apartment already. 40-year-old me just smiled and turned away. Not because I was trying to be good, not because I was ashamed, but because I'd finally learned that sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is know who you are and be okay with it. Even if who you are is someone with a body count of 43, or maybe 44, who's counting anymore?